Of course, sex was meant to be amazing between two people, or based on what we've been told, it's supposed to be two people, but really and truly, the reality is that sometimes it's more than two people, depending on what information is out there. Hi, I'm Michelle Samuels for White Goals ID, and unfortunately, it's very early in the morning and it's a bit quiet in my building where I'm living. So, if you just bear with me when my tone is a bit low. But let's get into this because what date is it now? The 5th of February, and it's Valentine's. So, a lot of people may be on the hunt for a good lover or just trying to bring some excitement into their relationship or just reinforcing the love aspect of it and the sexual aspect of it. But we're gonna get into into the real nitty gritty of it today and kind of cross some boundaries and explore some ideas that are not openly discussed too often, but it may be out there. So what we're talking about today, the search for amazing sex. Why is this important when you're setting your goals, when you're reaching for your dreams, when you have it formulating a plan? Some people they don't take the time to actually think about the sex side of things when sex is one of the most important parts of interaction on a human level or just on an energy level between people. Now, what I've recognized from the research and just from my own knowledge on certain topics and so on is that a lot of people out there living in a box of ideas. So when they're looking for a lover, when they're in search of somebody that matches them, it's very difficult, I must say, based on what I'm seeing, because one of the difficulties that a lot of people face is a level of dishonesty that is diffusing. It's that is basically rummaging, like it's moving throughout the whole societies across the world, and there's a lack of honesty. And why is that lack of honesty there? I think because there's a lack of understanding of the design of how people think and operate, and what pleases them in the context of sex, and also what's available in the environment, the psychologies of the human mind, which I'm not a specialist in that area, but I've come to some knowledge to be able to look at certain human behavior patterns and so on. And one of the key things that I want to cover today before I go any further is the reality of the existence in which we live. Now, a lot of times we're sold this whole concept of, oh yes, we're trying to create a nuclear family for reproduction purposes, and sex is really a focus between two people on reproduction. That was the traditional way of thinking, basically to grow the population and to basically grow the labor force and to grow connections between people. However, historically speaking, that hasn't been the truth. The truth has been that there are so many people that engage in different forms of sexual activities with different individuals, and the way the society is designed may be an important factor to consider as to why people behave like that. Because some societies have more men than women, or more women than men. Some societies that you go into, different types of marriages are acceptable. So if you go into Google now and you look at different types of marriages, let's see, different types of marriages. 1 minute, just bear with me. Different types of marriages. So there are 8 different types of marriages, 5 types of marriages. Hold on a second. Let me just go into this a bit. Yeah, so you have civil and religious marriages. See, you have common law marriage, monogamous marriage. Common law is when two people live together but they're not married. Monogamous, one and one. Polygamous, more than one person to many individuals. It could be vice versa. It could be the man that's the one person or the woman, as far as I know. Left-handed marriage, secret marriage, shotgun marriage. There are different types of marriages. Yeah. Covenant marriage, open marriage, living alone, together marriage. And the reality of it is that it's not even about marriage. We've been sold the idea of marriage. Marriage can be good for some people, but it doesn't necessarily work for all. And the needs and desires and the pleasures that are being explored by different people and what's available to them, or what have they encountered on the life path that causes them to have certain desires, and what are the different pleasures that align with their design or how they think, and why is it that they come under so much judgment in the society, so much so that it's necessary to hide themselves almost to be able to find a right match. Now this can be very dangerous because you have so many people fighting for their rights pertaining to sexual freedom and sexual choices, and basically some people not even getting sex. It's just a situation where they have to be like they're alone, and sex is really about with themselves. Let's be honest, masturbation is a big topic that is our action that is being carried out within the society. So when we're thinking about sex on a larger scale, it's like a lot of people may be going out there and they're thinking, oh, I need to find a lover from a monetary or a financial standpoint. That's one of the first thoughts, love and finance. But really and truly, if you're looking at your goals and your aspirations, and you're going after certain things that you want to achieve, I think it would be a consideration to look at yourself and what pleases you and what level of honesty you can share with others. The unfortunate thing is that some people may be honest with somebody else about what pleases them in the bedroom, and then what happens is the person just totally pulls away because that's just not what they wanted, or it could be a situation where they basically say to themselves, boy, it's too much, or there's no openness and understanding to the maybe the path or the desires or the design of the person and what their needs are. So having that conversation beforehand is a big risk for a lot of people. That's why you may have certain closed off areas of the society where only groups of people meet up, that they're totally comfortable, knowing that they're around others, that they're not able to come under judgment. And sometimes it's let's say, how do you put it? Sometimes it's a class of people that you may not expect to operate in that environment, or a mixed class of people that in the external environment you'd never think for a minute that they would be in those positions or mixing with certain people from certain parts of the society. But there's a match in terms of what the sexual pleasure is. Now the unfortunate thing is that I think we somewhat on some level we operate from a delusional standpoint. No disrespect, please don't come at me about the word delusional. Meaning, like, we a lot of us are going out there saying we have these plans, we have these goals, we want to create a blueprint, we're looking for a match, even from the viewpoint of a monogamous marriage or a one-on-one sexual relationship with a male and a female. There may be aspects of sex and sexuality that aren't explored in the bedroom because the other person there, that openness is not there, and there may be judgment or just shame that is attached to some of the things that may please the other person, or the other person wants to explore certain things, but they don't feel comfortable in exploring those things because at the end of the day they don't know the basis or the source. There's the psychology or where their mind is at as to why they want to engage in certain activities is not clear, and then other people get pulled into the idea of it. Now one of the greatest let's say, challenges that we face as a race is to be able to have that honesty out there, to be able to match with someone depending on our group, because you do have polygamous marriages, you do have marriages where people actually are married to more than one person, and everybody is happy and everybody celebrates. But the unfortunate challenge that we face is that many times we go out there and there's a whole concept and idea around the fact that, oh, let's just put that forward, my best version of self. Let's put forward the best version of self and then hope for the best in the bedroom. Let's put forward the best version of self because that's what the society wants, because it looks good on the outside. So let's put forward the best version of self and then we can hide away and do or be who we want to be without coming under scrutiny or without displaying that aspect of ourselves, because we have to survive in this society. But is that really logical? It's logical, of course, for those who engage in such activities, but at the end of the day, is it logical in the long run? Because if you have to hide who you are on some level from the other person that you're with, and you, the risk of being exposed at some point does pop up. And if you get exposed at that point, what amount of what amount of finances, what amount of effort, what amount of time, what amount of connection, what amount of commitment to maybe children or family, what construct are you creating that really you get up every day, you might repress those thoughts, but you wake up and every day you may worry, or every other day or once a year you worry about being found out about who you really are, or hoping that the next person will actually accept you as you are in the event that you face that challenge. But the risk is there that it will never show up. But when we're making decisions in life, it's important to consider the fact that there are other people that are affected, like the next generation. And we don't want to really bring up the next generation too much, but that's the reality of it. What are we teaching the next generation? And it's a difficult thing to do because next generation may not align with the decisions that you may want to take from your viewpoint, as in, what pleases you from a sexual standpoint. Some people go into relationships, they don't want a commitment, they just want sex, they just want one night stands, they just want that interaction occasionally, they just want a wife and a lover, they just want more than one lover, they want 100 lovers, but they don't understand half the time why they want what they want and how that aligns with your blueprint and the plan that you're creating. So we can come from this idealistic viewpoint and say, okay, you know what, we want a society that is perfectly aligned with certain sexual behaviors and all that. But the truth is that at the end of the day, if people are interacting and connecting on a level that is not within the idea of how they are designed or how they operate or what pleases them, what is the real sense of creating an impression for the society and then creating a whole lifestyle, a whole projection of achievements, a whole concept of how even the children should behave. But deep down in yourself, you have to be hiding who you really are. And many people, I can kind of see on a certain level why some people have to hide. But I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, so I can't come under judgment. I can't go and in my own mind and say, oh, this person is good or bad. But when it comes to violations against others, even that is borderline like like a thin line to walk on, and a gray, and also a gray area. Violations on a certain level, once the other person is not receptive to the violation, is just wrong. There is no wrong or right about it. It's a violation. But when we're talking about violation, we're talking about the other side of it, where the parties agree that, and it's not even violation, it's inflicting pain or bringing pleasure to the next person through different mediums of basically what would seem like a violation to others if it were observed on the outside, but really and truly it pleases the next person. But when you're going into a relationship, it's very important, no matter what type of relationship it is, to be able to have that conversation. And sometimes those conversations take time. And the unfortunate thing is that everybody's like, not everybody, but a lot of people are in a rush. Why are they in a rush? Because they're thinking about the time constraints that they face, because they think they have to achieve certain things, and the financial impact of that if they don't connect with somebody else. Plus they want to reproduce, and they're looking at the timeline. It's still, there's a lot of it that goes back to timeline. And right now throughout the society, there's so much dishonesty when going into the dating scene, or trying to find a right match with somebody that brings you great sexual pleasure in the bedroom. And what happens is, we get sometimes trapped in situations, and sometimes when you get trapped in those situations, or luckily enough you may find the right person that is actually for you, but we get trapped in situations. And when we get trapped in those situations, the price that we have to pay is just, is it really logical? So one has to ask oneself, what brings us pleasure? Pleasing the external environment and pleasing others, or pleasing ourselves? Because the greatest pleasure you can feel with somebody else is when there's honesty there, and you can just be yourself, and that person is accepting of who you are. And sometimes some people go outside of the home environment, go away from their wives, go away from their lovers, because they can't find that pleasure with that person. And then within themselves have to explore, why is it that I put myself in this situation? Or why is it that I can't control the situation? Or do I need to explore choosing another route, or having a more honest communication with the person that I'm with, or just continue on that tangent? And there are places and environments that facilitate that, that tap into that profit from that. And they profit from that because people don't have the freedom to be able to face the reality of what is. Now we can try and create an environment that is perfectly formed around the nuclear monogamy idea, but is that a true reflection of life? So when you're looking for amazing sex, you're talking about exploring things in the bedroom that may not necessarily match with what other people may think is good. And it takes a lot of courage to stand up and to be able to say, even though sex is a really private thing, some people do love the fact that they can actually explore sex openly, or is not private to them. Having conversations around it may just be exciting to them. Some people, that's the only excitement that they actually get, having a conversation, because the availability of choice as to what pleases them is not there. And even if the choice is there, they can't pinpoint it, because at the end of the day, everybody's hiding how they really feel. Not everybody, but a lot of people hide how they really feel. And sometimes you're in a relationship with somebody for, it doesn't even matter the timeline. and you love have sex, you make love, you think it's exciting, but the other person has repressed things that they want to share with you that they can't share with you, because at the end of the day they think they may come under judgment, and they don't it doesn't necessarily mean that they will, or maybe they will, because that's what they're used to, coming under judgment. And the psychological aspects of it have been encounters along the timeline of social interaction, or just being in the home environment, and then move that mindset into the bedroom setting. It could be a situation where there's just no emotional connection between the two people, but sex occurs. And is that a right match? I mean, to carry somebody home, and or to be in a bedroom environment with somebody for the first time, knowing in yourself that you maybe some people don't even recognize that they're just closed off and blank. There's no emotion at all, and they find it very difficult to express it. It could be based on how they're designed, or it could be just based on the fact that it's difficult to express it, because if is so far repressed. And if they tell the other person may be like not on board. And sometimes the irony of it is that when people desire other things, they desire people that don't desire those things, because they feel a sense of shame, or they're trying to walk away or move away from those thought patterns, and they're hoping that the next person won't even notice what's going on in their minds, and that over time it will change. And sometimes it does, because who you're interacting with on a level, or on an energy level, or on a physical level, can change your approach to certain things, but in the bedroom. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you have been through some psychological traumas that are so deeply embedded, or if it is that is just how you are, and you're not willing to accept that part of you, or you want to explore it with how you are with somebody that's just like you, because at the end of this day you like to see a mirrored image of yourself, and you like the pleasures around the mirrored image of self. But now this is the week for like Valentine's, and everybody is excited about it, and everybody looking for a lover and all that. But why are you looking for a lover? And when are you willing to have that conversation with yourself about the type of person that you want to attract into your life? And it's very difficult to have that fight that the society itself hasn't necessarily conquered in itself. And the level of exposure to information, even if you're trying to safeguard the next generation from certain things, social media, the internet, information about sex, and the availability of images, and I mean just what's being portrayed from an art standpoint in general. There's so much information that even if you try to safeguard the children and make them in a specific way of thinking, it's not within the constructs of the reality of what will occur. The reality of what will occur is that people interact based on how they are designed, how they operate in the society and the environment, what has happened to them on the path, the deep embeddings in their psychology, the honesty that they have with another person, the level of consciousness that the other person is at, and even helping the other person to overcome fears and situations that they haven't overcome without somebody else's help. And that could just be just as simple as honesty. And the next thing is that, like, some people are so closed off in the bedroom setting, they're unwilling to try new things, even if their partner, lover, whatever it is, one night stand, whatever. I mean, one night stand kind of get complicated, because I mean you don't really know the person on that level, but they're so unwilling and closed off. And some people want people to go to certain levels that compromise health, that compromise them as a person, and it's not in line with what they're willing to risk because of the challenges that they face in terms of what the society may think, or that's just not them. It's really, it's kind of annoying. And the next thing is that, like, you be like in a relationship, and then the next person gets complacent in the bedroom because they're not paying attention to the fact that everything needs to be nurtured, everything needs to be cared for. It's a continuous improvement. It takes time, energy, effort. Just like one would go after the financial aspects of it, just like one would go for a house and or a mortgage and pay for 20, 25 years. But when they get somebody to share that house with, they take the other person for granted, and it's just like a mundane, boring thing. Because there's no openness. There's, oh yeah, let's just get over with. Yeah, today's what, Sunday at 10 o'clock, let's do it. And then the two parties or one party is suffering, and then the relationship breaks down, and then you have to start all over again. So one of the key things I think is important is that, being able to be honest with yourself about what pleases you, and taking that chance to be honest with the other person about what pleases them. And if somebody tries something in the bedroom and they tried it and they don't really like it, then, there should be an openness there to say, if the person wants to continue in a different way, or it's almost like a negotiation strategy. And negotiation in itself is very pleasurable and powerful if it is that you're tapping into the sexual side of it. Because a lot of sex is about power, control, submission, pleasure, openness, communication. Now, so like some people just wanna just like run with Jamaica, run the place red. We would say, and they're so not in tune with themselves. They start to explore so many different things, and it happens because there's such a lack of understanding of self, and the environment that they come from didn't focus on self or telling people about the value of that which is in them through a sexual encounter standpoint. Now, the value of which is in you can be anything. It can be just, oh, my own pleasure, or it can be, oh, look, I found somebody that is a match to a certain degree and we can negotiate, we can work on things. But when you're growing in the direction of your dreams or you're going after your goals, you cannot be like, it's not that you cannot be, but it's important to not be closed mind and to protect yourself and to protect yourself from the external environment, because the external environment, what you expect to happen, the external environment and other people in the environment, and mixing or interacting or connecting with those other people can change the whole blueprint of how the story works out. So some people are just psychologically, they've positioned their mindsets to think that, oh, my relationship is gonna last forever. It doesn't, because there's not an honesty there, or it doesn't because there was somebody, some external what is the word? Some external person or event or activity that actually disrupted the connection to the degree that it was forceful in sometimes pushing you in the direction of your greater self. But amazing sex is important. Some people basically go through their lives with somebody that they achieve everything, and there is no sexual pleasure. And once it's agreed, that's okay. But if we're building a new society and we're looking at how we can achieve achieve our objectives and our goals, we cannot shy away from the whole concept of the importance of sex and finding a right match, and having an openness in your mind as well, and having a receptiveness to knowing that at the end of the day, psychologically, you have to be ready for almost anything. And why is that occurring? Because sometimes, like I said, things can occur because of other reasons other than the logical reasons that have been put inside, or seeds that have been planted inside of your mind, and then you get up and you walk away from your relationship, or you stay in a relationship that basically does not make you happy, but it works because it looks good to everybody else. If your relationship boring, it just boring. And if it's gotten to that point, it's important to explore options around why it's boring. Some people can't say no to sex. It's just sex all the time. Oh yes, well, I have to have sex because this is my lover, this is my partner. That's the expectation. It comes with the house and the bills and so on. It's like, oh, I have to get it. Or some people that basically, or some people basically with somebody, they know they're not staying in it for very long, so they just want to get it all the time. And it's just an overuse of the person, and then discard the person because they haven't come to a consciousness of self. But finding that right place inside yourself and understanding you from the get go, and I'll always move forward to this, understanding you from the get go is important because it helps you to understand others. It helps you to understand why things are occurring. It helps you to understand, is this person able to communicate? What might be the blockages? And how can we move sex to the highest level? And this may mean embeddings from the childhood setting that people find pleasure in because they were exploited on some level. And the traumas of that have caused them to accept a way of being in the bedroom that, most people would think, oh shit, how is this possible? But if it's the right person, it should be able to be communicated, and a discussion had even around that, and not a rejection, because there are people that come to higher levels of consciousness, but because of their lack of understanding on the path they've been through, many lovers, or a few lovers that don't even make sense to have been with, or lovers that don't match with what is ideal for them in the future. And that discussion definitely has to be had. Why does it have to be had? Because at some point it's gonna become a problem. And how does that impact everything else? It impacts everything else, and it can be a make or break and destroy the whole foundations of your effort, your time that you cannot get back, time that you can't get back. And sometimes in some situations, people say, if or people come under judgment because they're just living in the moment, and they're just like that, and nobody's willing to accept that. Oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you get married? Why you don't have a girlfriend? Why you don't have a boyfriend? Why? And the person is like, I'm comfortable in my own skin, and there's an honesty there. So when we're looking at amazing sex for Valentine's and for the years ahead, and the days ahead, one has to ask oneself, what is one's level of loyalty, commitment? What are your drivers? What is going on in the psychosis of the mind? I hope psychosis is the right word. And what is your pleasure? I mean, it must be difficult to be missing out on that heightened awareness. And taking a break sometimes is okay. Sometimes you just need to take a good long run break, and really spend time with yourself. Even if it means that once in a while you might Or you may have a one time when you can't hold it anymore and you masturbate. Or not. All right, so I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna end this one. I'm Michelle Samuels for Why Goals ID. While you're searching for love out there, and while you're making all your plans and you're creating this blueprint to your dreams, remember yourself and remember what your sexual pleasures are. And even though the society pushes certain agendas, the reality of it is that sometimes the same people pushing their agenda to be a specific way, they completely deviate from that. And when you open their closet, you can imagine what's in there, and they hide it from other people, and that's their choice. I mean, everybody has free will, but think about who you are in the whole scope of things and what makes you happy. And amazing sex is absolutely great. So I mean, it's kind of wrong. It's kind of it kind of goes against the order to be missing out on that, because you just can't be honest with yourself or anybody else, because you have to be protecting yourself so much. All right, so I'm Michelle Samuels for Why Goals ID. Have a fantastic week ahead, and we're gonna put out some videos this week. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, make your comments and all that. And we're at 22,000 and odd views now on YouTube, and we're on TikTok. As we just started on TikTok. TikTok, we have no followers. That's fine, but we've had maybe about 1,500, I think, approximately in the last